Hello everyone, today we're learning about Mציעא Daf Hayomi. We're going to start about 9 lines down. Omar Rav Kahana, Ave Asivna B'Shilei Perke de Rav. I was sitting at the end of the Shia of Rav, V'shomis T'Ka'oma Kori Kori, and I heard him saying in the Shia stuff about pumpkins, type of pumpkin, Kori Kori. V'lo yadanu mai ka'oma, I didn't understand what he's on about. I came too late, I couldn't understand. Bossa the Komarav, when the Shia was over, Amrilu, I told the Talmidim who were there, my Kori the Komarav, what was he talking about pumpkins? Amruli, they told me, Ochi Komarav, this is what Rav told me. Ayman Diov Zuze Leginoe, someone who gave money to the gardener, a Kori on these pumpkins, V'ko'azli Asor Kori, Bnei and the price now is that 10 pumpkins the size of this size that go from your pinky to your thumb go for one zuz. But Omale and the gardener told him, I'll give you the ones of the size from here to here, much bigger ones. I'll give you 10 the size of Ger Mida for a zuz. Isnu, if he has them, shori. Lesnu, if he doesn't have the big ones, also it's forbidden. Says the Gemara Pshita, what's the Chiddush? Obviously, he can't give it for a cheaper price if he doesn't have it. Says the Gemara Mao, the Tema, I might afford Kavan the Mimela Kurabu, since they grow by themselves. The small ones become big ones. Shapir Dom is that if he has it already and therefore he's allowed to sell it for the lower price, Komash Malon. The Chiddush is that you're not allowed. Says the Gemara Kiman, who does it go? Like like this price that we learned, of someone who's going on the way to milk his goats, to share his sheep, and to get the honey from the hive. And Rashi explained that lirdois is like to separate, like lirdois to pass from the oven. It's also lashon ridia, because you need to separate it because they all get sticky together. Motzechaver, his friend, saw him on the way, and he told him, wherever comes out, the milk, the amount that comes out, I don't know, let's agree on a price, you pay me, and wherever comes out, a little or more, you get it. Whatever wool is going to come, I'm going to sell it to you for this price. The amount of honey I'm going to get, is sold to you for this price. Because it's a type of like a risky deal, but it could be he's going to get more than the value, it could be he's going to get less than the value, and therefore there's no ribis. For every liter of milk that I'm going to get, and he sells it for a lower price than the value today. Or from the wool, for each kilo for a lower price than the market value. I'm going to sell you for each jar of honey, the prices in the market is 10 pounds, I'm going to sell it to you for 8 pounds. Also, it's forbidden. Even though that by themselves the honey is going to get more and the wool gets more and there's more milk. Because now he doesn't have them yet, it's not that he has them in his hand already and he's selling it for cheap, he doesn't have it in his hand yet. Also, it's forbidden. So it comes out, that's the same thing like Rav. Rav fits in like the Brisa. Some people say that there's a different shit to the Rava says, when he's giving the money for the type of pumpkins, for the small ones, for a lower price, and he's supplying him with the big ones, even though they doesn't have big ones, but because he has a small one, then they're going to become big ones. Shaper Domi, he's allowed to sell the big ones for the price of the small ones. Frak the Gemara of Atanya, we just learned in this Brisa, kach v'kach osa, it's forbidden. What's the difference? So the Gemara also, lav minei korobu. Honey, that there's more honey has nothing to do with the honey they had at the beginning. Each piece of honey is separate. Each piece of milk is separate. When there's more milk, it's nothing to do because I had 1 liter, now I have 2 liters. It's nothing to do with each other. And also with the wool. If I take all the honey away, new honey is going to come. I milk all the milk or take off all the wool, more wool and more milk is going to come. Beduchte in its place. And therefore it's a new creation, and therefore it has nothing to do with the first creation. Therefore it's not in your hands yet. Until you don't get it, it's nothing to do with what you have in your hand that becomes bigger. It's something separate, so you can't sell what you don't have in your hands for cheaper. Hocha, but by the case of the pumpkins, minei korobu. this pumpkin, the small pumpkin, becomes bigger. So if I'm selling the small one, that one became bigger. So I'm selling the small one that will become big, and I'll give it to you when it's big. If you take away the small pumpkins off the ground, the small ones, you're not going to get big pumpkins growing there. Once you cut it, there's no pumpkins left. Therefore, it's a small one that becomes big. So I'm allowed to sell the small ones and supply them when they're big, because he's buying the small ones and they became bigger. Omar Abaye, says Abaye, surely a man's allowed to tell his friend, take these 4 zuz on the barrel of wine that you're going to give me. If it goes to vinegar and gets ruined, it's your loss. If it goes up or down in price, it's my gain or loss. It's allowed to do that. Omar le Rav Shravi le Abaye, says Rav Shravi le Abaye, Samech Daled Omid Beis, Ahai kor l'schar v'rochek lehefsetu. The buyer is more of an option to gain, because if it goes up in price, he gains, and if it goes rotten, he doesn't lose it. So it's the more of a chance he's going to gain. And we said in the Mishnah on Daf Ayin that kor l'schar v'rochek lehefsetu is called a Rasha because it's like ribis. Omalei, so he told him no. Since he also, the buyer, accepts on him the going down in price, it's considered where the options to lose and to gain are equal, and in such a case, it's mutter to do that. So the Mishnah, Amal ves chavero is someone who lends his money to his friend. Lo yodu b'chater chinom, he should not live in his house for free, because it's type of ribis. He's gaining that he could say, oh, because he lent me money, now he's living there for free. And he should not rent from him his car, whatever he's renting, for cheaper. Because it's ribis. Why is he renting him for cheaper? Why is he letting him stay in his house? Because he lent him money. So that's gaining from the loan, and therefore it's like interest. Even though that we said, if Reuben goes and lives in Shimon's house, in his chotzer, without Shimon knowing, he doesn't have to pay him for staying in his house, and he doesn't have to pay. If Reuben lent money to Shimon, now he goes into Shimon's chotzer and lives there, he has to pay him for it, because otherwise it's ribis, he's living there for free. Ask the Gemara, what's the chiddush of the Amoraim of Rav Yosef in the name of Rav Nachman? Tanina, it's in First Mishnah, Samech Daled Omid Beis, that we just learned. Amal ves chaver lo yodu b'chatzer chinom lo yiskor menu pachos fnei sheribis. So the Gemara, no. If we'd only have the Mishnah, I might have thought Hanimili, when it's forbidden, b'chotzer the kaimel agra, when this property that he moved into is an Airbnb property that's rented out all the time. And if I won't, if the Malva is the type of person that goes to a hotel, and now instead of going to a hotel, he's moving into this guy's Airbnb, then it's forbidden. If this house is anyway empty and he's not planning to rent it out, this person normally would stay by his parents when he comes to town. He wouldn't rent a place. Maybe in that case, a Malva is allowed to live in the loivus chotzer bechinom and not have to pay. Komash malon, that's the chiddush of Rabbi Yosef bar Menumi Omer Rav Nachman, that even in a case where it's a person who would not rent a place to sleep, and even if the property is not meant to be rented out, it's forbidden. Some people say a different thing that Rav Yosef bar Menumi said, Omer Rav Nachman, in the name of Rav Nachman, even though that we said, if someone lives in goes to his friend's property and lives there without permission of his friend, he doesn't need to pay him anything for staying there. If the lawyer comes to the Malva and says, lend me money and you could stay in my property, he has to pay him for staying in the property, and he can't stay there for free. So in this girsa, he says that in the conditions of the deal of the loan, they added on this staying in the property. So says the Gemara, that it's forbidden even if it wasn't part of the deal, the first shitta in Rav Nachman, Kol Shelkein Alveini, even more so, it's forbidden when he agreed in the deal that because of the loan you could live in the property. But if the second girsa that we go is that it's also when he did the deal in the agreement of the loan. But if he lent him and he never spoke about living in his property, then he doesn't have to pay. My time, since when he gave the loan, there was nothing talked about living in the house for free. Less loan, but we know choishes for ribis because we know a dober chotzer chaver shloim edato and doesn't have to pay. And the Mishnah that said that it's forbidden is talking about where it's chotzer the kaimel agra. Rav Yosef Bar Choma Tokif Avdi the Inchi, he would grab slaves of people and make them work for him. The Masik Bezuzi, the slaves are the people who owed him money. So Rav Yosef Bar Choma had someone owed him money, so he'd take the slaves and make them work for him. And he'd make them work for him. Omale Rav Abrei, Rav the son of Rabbi Yosef, told him, my time Ovid Marachi. Why are you doing that? Omale, Anok Rav Nachman Svirli. I hold like Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman, Avdan Kreise Lo Shavi. A slave is not worth the money to feed him. I mean, the money to feed him is more of an expense than what you gain from him. And therefore, I'm not gaining anything by taking these slaves because I give them supper and dinner. Omale, if the Rabbi told his father, Rav Nachman, when did Rav Nachman say this? Going Dari Avde, he was talking about someone like Dari, that was his name, his slave, the Merkid Beikoivi, that he was too old to work. All he could do is dance in the pub and get some wine for free. That was his whole value. Avdi Achrini, but a good, strong slave, Mi Omar, in such a case, is he only worth what you feed him, is worth much more, you're gaining. Omalei, Anoki Hoder of Daniel Barav Katina Omarav Svirli. I'm going over Rav Daniel, the son of Rav Katina, Omar Rav, in the name of Rav, I hold like him severely. The Omar that he said, if someone grabbed the slave of his friend, and he made him work for him, Potter, he doesn't have to pay. Why? That the person's happy that his slave is not going to sit and become a lazy slave and not want to work. Obviously, it's someone when the guy doesn't have work to give the slaves. Therefore, if the slave is going to sit feet on feet and not do anything, he's going to be a lazy slave. So the guy's happy that his slave is working and he gets used to working all the time. Omalei, animili, that's okay. That's okay when the guy doesn't owe you money. Mara, you, my father, Kavan the Masik Bezuzi, since they owe you money, the people that the owner, the masters of these slaves, it looks like Kuribis, it looks like they're taking the slave because this guy owes you money and you're getting the extra, and not only getting back the loan, you also got the work of the slave. What we just learned, even though we said if you go into someone's property that's not meant to be rented out and you live there, you don't have to pay him for it. But if this guy who you're going to his property is your loiva, is your loiva who owes you money, you do have to pay him. What's the difference? Because it's michzei karibis. Also here that you're taking the slaves from the people who owe you money, you're also michzei karibis. So Rav Yosef Bar Choma told the son Rava, I'm changing my mind, I'm not going to do this anymore because it's michzei karibis. Shkoyach.